Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone is doing great this morning. It's good to be here with you at the 2020 Slam+Summit event virtually. This is our world. Hope everyone's comfortable and looking forward to the event. My name is Greg Lotakis. I run operations for a company called Node, and I have been with the Guild for I can't count. I have to take my shoes and socks off. We are really excited to blaze new trail using this platform called Remo. We're excited to have you in it. When the event is started, it'll be like this. You'll all be brought to the stage and get to see who's presenting. And when we're in a break, you'll be able to jump from table to table. Just a couple quick things to help you view during the presentation. If you want to close out your chat sidebar, that'll help give you a little more room. And then you can also expand the slide that is presenting if you want to see the slide deck a little bit bigger. There should be a 4-way arrow expansion button in the top right corner. With that, let's get started. We're going to do a quick introduction, and we'll take a few-minute break before Commissioner Franz comes on at 10 o'clock. First and foremost, we want to start on behalf of the Northwest Ecobuilding Guild, acknowledge that we're all on traditional land of the first people of this region. For me, and for probably many of you, you're in the Seattle area. I reside, and we reside on the traditional land of the Duwamish tribe. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the tribal people who have been faithful stewards of the land, water, and ancient history of this life since before we arrived. Many of us might be attending from other parts of the region, so if you don't know whose traditional land you work and live on, we encourage you to find out. We've included a link here to help you with that. Thanks for taking this moment with us. Very much appreciated. Next, it's important for us to just take a moment and talk about our moment in history. Like many of you, I've had a lot on my mind, and too many times a heavy heart as to how 2020 has unfolded. Perhaps we share similar experiences. It's also highly likely I couldn't imagine what it's been like to walk in your shoes during this time. We possibly share the pain of having a family member get very sick with COVID. Maybe we've witnessed the societal divide creep within our tight circles of dear ones. Likely we've all felt the sting in our lungs of our ever-changing planet. These examples have made painfully visible that of the interconnectedness of all things, the people, planet, and prosperity. So while this moment may seem dark, I'm going to ask everyone to consider a reframe, and that this is also a time for hope, for the possibilities that lie ahead. Now, with our collective eyes wide open, let us work to heal together, build a brighter future together. It feels to me as if this moment is here for our renewed call to action towards a clear and collective vision, a vision of peace, dignity, and equality on a healthy planet. We're here today because of our interest in green building, and we have an incredible lineup at this year's conference covering lots of topics, and that was by intention. The Guild has an unofficial motto, and that's pushing the envelope. So on a literal level, we're often talking about the physical envelope of a building, but one of the most impactful envelopes we can push is about people, the equity, social justice, climate justice. So as you attend the different sessions, the Slam, over the next couple of weeks, we invite you to keep this aspect of sustainability in mind. We invite you to be part of the Guild's journey in helping to bring light to this area of work that's so critical to building our brighter future for the 7th generation. Thanks for giving us that moment. With that, I am happy to introduce our president of the Northwest Ecobuilding Guild, Michael Nile, who's going to share more about the Guild. Michael, it's all yours.
Good morning, and thank you, Greg. Welcome everyone, and thank you for coming out on this beautiful fall rainy day. We're glad you're here. We've got a lot of exciting presenters and speakers coming up. So I want to take a moment. I want to talk a little bit about the Guild and what's going on and inform you. I moved up here a little over 10 years ago. I attended my first Guild event shortly thereafter. And as a builder and a green building guy, I was just amazed by the level of professionalism, the level of commitment, the passion, the enthusiasm of the entire group. They were so welcoming, informative. It was a great, great introduction to a community of people. And the Northwest Ecobuilding Guild is a community of people built with a common purpose of improving our built environment. And by doing that, improving the cities and the regions that we all live in and we play in and we work in up in this region. The Guild is committed. It's been around since 1993. It's been putting on events, educational events, to support not only the community, but its members. The idea was to share best practices. I've never met such a group of people that's not afraid to share their ideas and their best practices with others and support each other and mentor each other and coach each other. This is a tremendous opportunity to learn and to grow because it affects everyone. It affects each and every one of us. And as Greg pointed out, we are on a journey. We're on a journey to continually improve the homes, the buildings that we live and work in, and to make them better, make them healthier, make them greener, make them more sustainable, more energy efficient. So it's very exciting. We do a lot of great things here at the Guild throughout the year. This is our flagship event, the Slam+Summit. We have the Green Building Tour, and we have educational events throughout the year. So I encourage you to check out our website, sign up for the newsletter, and follow what's going on. A lot of great things. Can we jump to the next slide, please? I need my glasses. We're on the board. We're a nonprofit organization. We are required to have a board of directors. The board of directors is in charge of the budget, creating the budget, creating the plan of events for the coming year based on our strategic plan, and then doing overseeing throughout the year, which includes staff, hired professionals, volunteers, and members and sponsors. So it's an active working board. We meet about 6 times a year, and I'd like to tell you who our board members are. You can probably see them right there. So I will just run through them. Starting with Helen. Helen is the vice president of the board. Laura is our interim treasurer, acting treasurer. We have Janie Bube. We have myself as the current president. We have Amy Wagenfield and Ryan Adelin, who are also board members. And that is our board. Our executive team that meets on a weekly basis is made up of myself, Helen, and Laura. And we get into more of the details under the direction of the board itself of the month-to-month and week-to-week operations of the board, from finances to events to staffing to sponsors to you name it. So very engaged, love it. We have a lot of fun, and we can go to the next slide, please. I want to stop here for just a minute because, as I mentioned, as a nonprofit organization, we have basically very few part-time staff. We have some paid professionals that help us out through the year. But this organization relies on volunteers. And I don't even know where to begin with this group of people that you see, the names posted up there and the faces. The amount of time and effort and passion that these individuals have put into putting on this event, going from, as many of you may know, last year an in-person event to a virtual event, finding the right platform. This platform, if you explore it, is pretty amazing, and we think it's going to be great over the coming weeks. To figure out the scheduling for this event, how it was going to work, finding the speakers, lining up our sponsors and supporters, getting additional volunteers. This has been a tremendous amount of time and effort that's gone into this. So we have a few people that I want to start with. Jenny Hines, Ryan Adelin, Ellie Trin, Grace Wong, Laura Elfline, Doug Kennedy, Helen Harrison, and Greg Lotakis, as well as our additional support. I need stronger glasses. I'm trying to read this. Christian, Wendy, Miles, Eileen, John, Lucas, Eric, Nina, Francisco, Sage, Peter, and Kathy. I know that you're all muted, but if you could do me one favor, if you could do this, and just do one big cheer for this group of people. I mean, they have done an amazing job, and you're going to see that over the next week or two. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Great group of people make up the fabric of our community. Slam+Summit is an event that is geared at showing off the best of the best. It's this whole concept of ideas and education coming together. And that's what the Guild is all about. It's bringing these ideas and sharing them. In the Slam, which started well over a decade ago as an event that showcased what members were doing and highlighted these great projects, from remodels to houses to tenant improvements, you name it. It's just been a flagship of the Northwest to see all the great ideas from architects, from builders, designers, you name it. Just these awesome, awesome concepts. And then we've had the summit, which brings in the talent and the professionals and the knowledge that is shared, which has made this event so great over the years. And once again, it's constantly evolving, just like this year. We've got this new format and this new system that this great team has put together. So we hope you enjoy it. Which brings me to the final slide. And I want to just share a little story. I grew up in an area that had, they were, what I was told were the Mennonites. They were a branch of a group of religious families that didn't believe in electricity and modern conveniences. They were, most of them, the majority of them lived on farms, and incredible, incredible people. They did these barn raisings, as they called them. And I remember as a small child witnessing one of these. And it made me think of the Guild when I thought back on this, because it's such a powerful community that came together. You have the professionals, you have the elders that have the vision. You then have the members that become the builders that help it to grow, help it to become what it is. You then have this influx of volunteers that come in and work through all the details. You then have the sponsors or the benefactors that provide the financing for the materials to help that project get completed. And finally, you have the donors. The donors come in many fashions. They may help here for special projects financially. They may help with advice, and they may help with feedback. There are many ways to support the Guild. We are a nonprofit organization, and to put on these events, it takes a lot of money, time, and energy. So I ask you, if you can pause for a moment and think of how you can support the Guild. There's so many ways to help. We look forward to you joining the community, becoming part of the team. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy, have fun, provide the feedback on your experience. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michael. That was awesome. Well, we're just about there. I've got a few more housekeeping items for us. I want to just mention the event. We got together when we were thinking about the event this year, and rather than have one giant day of a lot of sessions that you couldn't possibly go to all in one sitting, we decided to break this up and have 3 events a day. And the idea was that those of us that are, like many of us, working from home or even on a job site, have that moment to break away for an hour and listen in, as well as go back and see the recordings. Just an invitation to look over the schedule, which is from today, Wednesday, Thursday this week, followed by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, when we have our Slam evenings, which is tonight and next Tuesday night. That will start around 6 o'clock. And the sessions, the summit sessions, will be essentially during the day, with the last one starting at 4 p.m. We also have our closing event on Thursday night next week, which is the 22nd, and we're looking forward to that. A bit of a virtual celebration and networking with a little happy hour. So please look over the schedule and find your fun and go enjoy it. Remo. So this is a new platform to us, and like most of everyone that's in the Ecobuilding Guild as a trailblazer, here we are again, blazing trail on a new virtual tool. We were excited about trying Remo because it really gave the sense of being at a conference and being able to jump from table to table. So I encourage you to do a few things. You can see the chat box to your right. You can open it and close it. You can talk to people individually. There's a question and answer section. When it comes time to do Q&A, you are welcome to put a question in there. And then if you like that question, you can vote that question to the top. And it will end up being one of the questions that will get asked. So use the chat box to communicate. For the tables, consider double clicking if you want to jump from table to table. Looks like many of you figured that out during the first half hour. Basic rules apply in a virtual space. Watch your mic and your camera. When the presentation is going on, they'll automatically be closed. Look in the corners if you need help. So in the corners of the virtual space, there is a help button that you can go to. Up in the top left, there's an area where you can do some of your diagnostics on mic, camera. If you're having issues, that's where you'd go next. In the right corner is where you can work on your profile. So add a picture, You can see that Jenny's put the slide up. So you'll also see that when you're at a table, if you've got your picture, people can recognize you. And if you see a star by someone, they are an event organizer, and you can count on them to help with a question. There's also a help desk that we'll be at, and we can jump in there to answer questions as well. Let's see. I think that covers Remo. Please ask questions. I know it's a new space. We're really excited about using it. Our sponsors. So what a world we are in, and we are so grateful for our sponsors to come along for this ride in a virtual setting without hesitation. Dunn Lumber, Building Success Together, without hesitation, said we are in. King County Green Tools, and Pharos Creative LLC as our sustaining sponsors. We very much appreciate their continued support in our event. Our supporting sponsors: Green Home Solutions, 475 Performance Building Supply, Pathway Design and Construction, the Energy Trust of Oregon, Better Built Northwest, Northwest LED, Mighty Energy Construction, Mighty Energy Solutions, Walsh Construction, Small Planet Supply, and Ballerstein and Associates. All our supporting sponsors, thank you so much. If you see them here at a table, drop in and say hello and have a conversation with them. And they have been supporting this event for as long as I can remember. So thank you so much. And for the rest of our sponsors, our contributing and ally sponsors, again, thank you so much. You have made this event possible for us. We are so grateful. With that, I am going to give everyone a little bit of a break. We've got 5 minutes before our keynote and comes on, so we're going to do a quick transition. This is a great time for a little bio break and freshen up some tea or coffee. We are going to be on in 5 minutes with Commissioner Hilary Franz. Hello, everyone. All right, here we go. It's exciting to kick things off. I am honored to introduce Commissioner Hilary Franz this morning as our keynote. I have had the privilege of knowing Hilary for several years, and actually, you know, my work and career have been positively impacted by Hilary. While Commissioner Franz was on the City Council of Bainbridge Island, with other council members, helped author the first green building ordinance on Bainbridge Island, and with that, created the possibility for the grow community to be developed, which I was on the team for. So that was such a wonderful springboard and legacy of Commissioner Franz's time on the City Council. From there, Commissioner Franz went to FutureWise, with which many of you may know as the executive director, and then more recently has been our Commissioner of Public Lands. And I appreciate Commissioner Franz for her strength, her leadership, her sense of empathy. I've seen it in many different forms while I knew her on Bainbridge, as well as her grit, which has to come from being a Commissioner of Public Lands, especially in a summer like we've had. I see Commissioner Franz as a systems thinker who understands the interconnectedness of problems, as well as our solutions. So certainly needed in a time like this. So more so, I just appreciate her as well for being someone that's raising a family amidst all this and doing it positively. So thank you so much for your influence on me. Thank you so much for being with us today. And with that, I'm excited to introduce you to come share some time with us this morning. Please join us.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor to be here. I wish I could be with all of you in person. As an extrovert, this is probably one of times, just for somebody who loves to be around people and the energy and the being in front of creation ideas, and that truly represents within design, build, plan our communities, our homes, within a respect for our landscape. So it's great to be here. I thought I really what our public lands is responsible, know what I actually do. And then I'm going to talk what is front and center of every with fire, and how do we get ourselves out of fires we've seen, and how it ties directly to. So first, as a commissioner of public lands, I oversee 2.6 lands. So think the entire coast, the Puget Sound, your rivers, lakes, and of proprietary sports. We're the largest shellfish owner and number one commodity and China's number one aphrodisiac, $30 million industry. That money we get from goes directly to restoration and to our waters. I then oversee 1 million acres of everything that is I mean truly above 2 million acres of forest land, 1 million acres of agriculture producer. We're not the largest producer. Also, a significant portfolio of actually solar farms, stadium, and then industrial residential from edge that spread throughout the state. We generate about $25 of those lands. Money about goes towards school, well, technical colleges. 200 million. Like King County, we're about 0.% of their operating budget because they have base. But as we're in all 39, their entire budget. So we are significant in providing basic health, housing, human services, public safety, the needs that our community depends on even more in the context of COVID. I also oversee the second largest recreation land that is one spots about COVID. People now are going outdoors, turning away from our Zooms and our computers, and are really finding not only physical but emotional and mental well-being and health out on our natural land. I also oversee Washington State's wildlife. We'll talk about today, and if that wasn't enough, so about everything that happens on the earth. We have 5 live volcanoes in Washington of the big earth landslides. We are every single day on the rapidly changing climate, whether it's ocean acidification and sea levels impacting our fish, or effects of increasing rain events leading to floods and to landslides, or the context as we see just this year and every year preceding, increasing wildfires, drought that impacts our agricultural lands, insect infestation. In addition, on the front line of climate and environment, we're much on the of a very fragile economy and fragile communities. As we know, many of our communities in Washington State were struggling with 7 to 12% unemployment. That was generational unemployment. And now COVID, that has been truly exacerbated our work. I believe for too long, we see the environment and the economy as working against each other, and we pit them together versus seeing them as working together. I have this belief you can't take care of people if you don't take care of place, and you can't take care of place if you don't take care of people. They go together. We have got to move our mindset to seeing how they work together. It's what I love about the work you guys do in the context of green building. You understand the importance of making sure that every single person in Washington State has a roof over their head, that they have a place that they can go to work and go to school that is safe and healthy. And at the same time, you recognize that all of that will be for naught if we are not stewarding our environment, ensuring clean air, clean water, that we have landscapes that are resilient, not only in habitat, but also in survival, whether it's the grasslands and the sagebrush of Washington State, or whether it's our forests. I think wildfire is really presenting this context challenge, but also the opportunity. And so I'm excited to be with you, because I think so much in your work, you see those intersections, you see those opportunities, but we are stuck within a frame that's larger than us, that looks at it too much as a challenge, as a crisis, as a fight, frankly. And wildfire, frankly, because I think this is an opportunity, relationships, work you all do, but frankly, building a relationship within the old paradigm of environment versus economy. We now in Washington State are dealing with, and I think it should be awake. 600,000 acres burned in Washington State, 5 times acres burned in all. It is more than half the number of acres that burned in 2015, which was the state's worst wildfire, when 1 million acres burned, tragically 3 firefighters. Every single year, fire season, what used to be in maybe September to March, October. We now just an Eastern Washington issue. We're seeing fires in the 53 fires in 2019 in March in Wahkiakum and Pacific counties that when I was growing up, I'd go there because you're there whole and you didn't want to go outside. And unbelievable number of fires we would never have imagined, including the Olympic rainforest. In this 72 hours erupted.
Commissioner Franz, can you?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say we've had, with our stormy weather, we've had some cutout of your connection, and I wonder if you can, I'm sorry to cut you off, I apologize.
That's okay, no
you,
worries.
first, well, I'm wondering if, try another spot, and if there's anything else running on your computer, and if the college students in the house are deep in college work.
I should tell them they can go outside and get out of school, huh? That is so funny. Okay,
we've had your audio has been pretty good the whole time, but your video has cut out, and it's kind of come and gone.
Okay, well, let me see. Okay,
By
the way, Seattle has the worst cell service. Well, it doesn't. There's many places that are worse, but it's pretty bad for a major city. Okay, I'm doing what I can in.
Cool, your video just came back on.
Okay, well, so far what it means is I've been closing out everything, so maybe that will be enough. Let's see.
I'm giving you permission to not have to multitask too much.
Okay.
You can tell the rest of the gang to cover you for 15 minutes.
Okay. Good right now, or not?
Yeah, you look. That looks great. Sounds great.
Okay. Do I need to go back, or we're good? We'll just jump. Wildfires.
When you were talking about Grays Harbor County.
Oh, okay. Great. So, so what happened in Labor Day of the 72 hours, and frankly, it's important for you all to understand how significant it is. We had a fire, Malden. The town of Malden is a perfect example on why the work you do is so important. Within just 2 hours, that entire town was completely destroyed. Not only the city hall, the post office, the fire station, and a majority of the homes, most of them uninsured, low-income communities. We also tragically lost the little boy's life as his family Okay, can you hear me? I got muted by you.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. We tragically lost a boy's life as his family tried to outrun a fire that within 4 hours spread 60 miles and over 180,000 acres. We had 53 fires the first day of Labor Day, all human caused. 24 fires. We had crews and limited resources because majority of the resources were in California and Oregon, given what they were fighting. The fact is, we are going to continue to see every single year catastrophic fires unless we take action. We take action, our landscapes become more resilient, and we help take action and making our communities more resilient. And this is where you all come in an opportunity. In Washington State alone, we have 2.7 million acres of forest in central and eastern Washington that are already dead and dying. It is leading to these catastrophic fires where our forests don't even have a fighting chance against fire, which historically they could fight easily. Historically, fire would start on our landscape and it might move 100 acres, but now it moves 100,000 acres because our forests are literally kindling. On that context, about half of that lands, then private, and then state lands and tribal lands. We are now seeing the dying off of our west side forest, and the next month we will come out with our forest action plan, which shows the significant threat to our west side forest and what we're seeing in its changing condition. We plan 17 said we have to move from fighting and wildfires to proactively getting in and restoring the health of our. And what that means is going in and removing the dead disease trees, removing the smaller diameter trees, creating more space between our trees, how it historically used to look before humans were engaging in our forests. When we do that, we're able to take that product, that dead disease trees, the smaller diameter trees, and even some of the healthier trees to create more space and reduce the competition for soil and water and sun. We can turn it into building product, everything from your typical 2x4 to cross-laminated timber and mass timber to biomass. And what is amazing about that forest health plan is all of you, I'm sure, in the work you've been doing, have been knowing what's possible in cross-laminated timber and mass timber. And the question was, how do we get it going? And I remember all those conversations between building codes and what comes first, the chicken and egg, where's the investment? How to scale up from these small pilots in schools to larger opportunities. When we developed that forest health plan, we sent a message to the marketplace that said, if you're interested in cross-laminated timber and mass timber, then you should come to Washington State and invest here because we will guarantee you supply. We're going to guarantee you 70,000 acres over the next 20 years, just in our central and east side forests, so that we can address this wildfire crisis and this forest health crisis. And within a year and a half of that plan being put into place, we had 2 cross-laminated timber, mass timber facilities, one in Colville, one in Spokane, and now we have another one opening up in the central part of our state. That's creating hundreds of jobs in an area that economically was depressed. And it's also now providing the opportunity for a more sustainable, affordable building supply to address our significant homeless crisis, our significant need for more sustainable building product within our urban areas as well as our rural areas. And we are also now in conversation on biomass facility, which next year will hopefully break ground. We'll take those slash piles at the end of every one of our forest health projects. We're left with a 1/4 acre in size, huge slash piles throughout the entire landscape that either naturally burn if fire gets to it first, which is completely destructive and causes even worse wildfires, or we burn it ourselves and it goes into the atmosphere, causing more carbon emissions, more pollution. It will now take that product. Not only do we get money from it that will help us continue to do our forest health work, help us provide revenue for our schools and our counties, as I talked about, but it will also be able to create a cleaner energy source for our community as we try to move for 100% clean by 2040, our carbon footprint. And it will create significant jobs in our rural communities that frankly need it more than ever before. It says, shows you how when government steps in and thinks boldly and innovatively and starts to move from reacting to a crisis like fire and smoke and flames and charcoal forest, the crisis of making our landscape, we can do in a way that not protects and restores it, but we can actually ensure the long-term health of our communities and our local economies. The second big piece that we are focused on is community resilience, and this is another area where you very much come in. When I was walking the streets of Malden with the mayor after that town was completely destroyed, it looked like the bomb had gone off. Not a building was really left standing on the main street, and when you went into the neighborhoods and these postage stamp lots, all you saw was foundation and chimney. Young families who in 2 hours had to grab everything they had and race out of that town. Amongst all that destruction and rubble were homes, one amongst 30 that were destroyed, that were completely untouched. Grass is green, no more on the house, no damage. And one, that home had taken steps to make their grass greener, to make sure their trees were away from their house. They gave their home a fighting chance against the horrific hurricane force winds that carried that fire. And when I went out into the rural areas, I saw the similar thing. Home after home, ranch after ranch, home leveled. But then homes where they had done the hardening up, they had created the defensible space. It showed to me that while fire is very unpredictable, and while it is very catastrophic, especially when you take fire, you take a heavy fuel load, you combine it with hurricane force winds, it can be unbelievably destructive. But we do have the ability to make our communities more resilient to that fire. In Paradise, California is probably the community that stands out the most before this last fire season, where we watched a town completely destroyed. And many thought, well, that's something that can only happen in California. But the fact is, in Washington State, we have over 3 communities that are wildfire risk and danger than Paradise, California. We have a number of them that match Paradise, California in the same level of risk, and others just a little bit below. We have the ability to help make these communities be more resilient by taking steps not only at the neighborhood level or the home level, but at the true community level. And Roslyn is a perfect example of this, where Roslyn was faced with the North Peak Jolly Mountain fires, breathing down their neck, breathing down their community for almost a month. And they decided they were going to take their future into their own hand, and they have drawn a defensible space around their community that they are now going to harden up, safe and protected from fire. We have got to take steps to do that. And part of it starts with how we build and where we build. We right now are seeing an unbelievable pace and scale of increase in people living more in the wildland urban interface. Our forest action plan that's going to come out next month is going to show not only the threat on forest health, but will also show the threat of conversion as more and more people are seeing that they can work from their home and their home can be anywhere. As more people want to get to the woods and more people see an ability to get to the woods to live, it is going to increase risk to those homes. It's going to increase the risk to our firefighters. It's going to increase the environmental challenge. So we will be tackling the community resilience from working at the wildland urban interface to reduce the conversion of those forests, to reduce more people moving into it, but then also how they build and where they build, but also how they take care of the homes they already have to protect them. Every one of those creates not an opportunity, but it creates an opportunity to help grow our economy and to create more sustainable communities that can thrive, not just survive of increasing threats from climate change, whether it's wildfire, whether it's floods, whether it's other challenges facing, and at the same time has the ability to grow our economy. And I urge you, look at this from a frame of understanding how systems work, understanding the environment, and understand the community needs, to bring your knowledge and expertise, to bring your voice to these issues that too often get polarized between climate change versus forest management, Republican versus Democrat, East versus West, environment versus economy. We need more knowledge and expertise of systems to show how we can take crisis and turn it into opportunity. We need to do that now because we're already in it, but it is not too late. And the sooner we work, the sooner we'll make progress. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I thank you guys for your leadership, and I look forward to questions. I just wish I could be there in person, and I look forward to finally being able to meet you all face to face. I'm happy to take questions because I got a bunch of other ideas I'd love to be popping out there, and maybe the best place to go is in questions.
That's awesome. Commissioner Franz, thank you. Yes, we'd love to ask some questions. We've got one now, and I'll just remind everybody, in the chat box, there are 3 headings, and the third one to the right is Q&A. So go ahead and put your question in there, and I'll monitor and ask away to Commissioner Franz. And then those questions that go in there, you can upvote them if you see one that you were going to ask already. So with that, we've got one question from Alan Ness, who asks, do you think we should spend billions of dollars on creating seawalls to protect low-lying communities on the coast? So possibly in connection with sea level rise conversation.
Yeah. So great question. I mean, this is where people far smarter than me. So first, I would recommend everybody, one of the things we've done is we spent the last 3 to 5 years working on assessing the 6 million acres of land that we manage, the 2.6 million acres aquatic, and then the 3 million acres of upland that really represents the entire state, not only geographically, but also in the type of land it is. We went and worked with the Climate Impacts Group at UW to identify what are the risks we're seeing, what are the risks right now, and what are we going to see 25, 50 years from now. And then we now just completed the first ever climate resilience plan for the state, which starts from the frame of what we're seeing on those 6 million acres of land that's represented by other communities. And now we're taking it out to communities to be able to think about how we invest in our communities to make them more resilient. I'm not a fan of seawalls. I don't think anybody knows before, but largely because I've seen seawalls and how they don't work that well, but they're also extremely destructive of habitat. I mean, our bulkheading that we see around our entire Puget Sound has been a significant, has had a significant impact on salmon habitat and survival. And I get very concerned about us armoring up in that area. There may be areas, as we know, soft shore arming and opportunities there. And I have not developed sort of the strategy in that side, but I am nervous when we're not using more natural systems approach to how we protect homes and properties. But I think it's a question we're going to have to keep on pursuing. Remember, if anybody, you should also take notice of our Tsunami Report that we did out there. We're obviously slated to have a pretty significant earthquake. We're in that window. I'm knocking on wood it doesn't happen in 2020 because we've had enough bad stuff happen in 2020. But you can look at our tsunami mapping where in ocean shores alone, we'll have 60-foot waves within just a few minutes. We've mapped how people are going to be able to get out by car, foot, and any other mechanism, and how we need to be, we're now working with communities, not only in school, but also in tsunami, how they design their schools and the community buildings that they need to be more resilient to tsunamis and earthquakes. I think it comes to sea level rise, but I look forward to more conversation on that.
Thank you. Several more coming in here. Lucas Johnson asked, from your perspective, what are the most effective political actions we can take to improve building code so that it is radically addressing climate crisis and social justice?
Oh my God, great question. You guys, I need to copy for your guys' brain. Gosh, okay. Well, here's what I would say. Oh God, this is a big one. First of all, I think it's where we build. So that might not be exactly what you wanted to hear, Lucas, but I think first, and making sure that where we build, we're not compounding the problem that we're already seeing around climate. Right, that's one. Our forests are our biggest carbon sequestration opportunity. Our ag lands are also our natural landscapes as well. The more we're building out in those areas, the more we're going to lose the carbon sequestration opportunity of that landscape. But we're also going to be putting people in areas that are far more climate prone, risk prone. So where we build is, I think, has got to continue to be the number one focus, and utilizing our forest action plan and what we're seeing, the change of where people are now moving to because of COVID. How we build a significant piece. Ideally, we would building product come from and trying to make it as locally sourced as possible. Some of my favorite, one of my favorite things that I would love to see if I was like queen for the day, I guess, is that we would do what they did in Malmo, Sweden, where they were looking at how do they build the most sustainable neighborhoods and communities, not just one building or two buildings, but the entire neighborhood. Making sure that the product that is utilized to build that is locally sourced, which means they now, not only were they committed to how they designed and where they built, right, but protecting those forests that are their biggest source of building product. They now cared about the long-term health of that forest, not just to walk in when they have a chance, but actually for their economic, social needs, as well as their environmental needs. And when they did that, that's when they also got more innovative in not only their land use planning, but also in using cross-laminated timber, mass timber, wood product that may not have been seen as valuable, whether it's the smaller diameter or the disease trees, or whether it's biomass. We move out of the one-off building scale to a much more community scale. We can then hit it both where we build, what we build with, and how we build to address what that impact of that climate is going to have on it, whether it's the issues around seawall rise, or whether it's the issue around earthquakes, tsunamis, or wildfires, or even drought. Food supply comes, and making sure we have water resources. We're going to have to think than just one-off buildings.
Thank you. Helen Harrison asks, it seems that the state's going to be in a financial deficit. How will we bounce back to get ahead of the damage to our forests and communities while having that budget to be proactive in the future?
Yeah, great question. So let me first say, I'm going to just talk about the wildfire forest health and the state budget piece. Right now, too often government thinks of this context of like, hey, we'd love to focus on wildfire and forest health, but we don't have resources because we've got homelessness and education and transport. We have this list of other challenges that we can't be focused on investing in forest health because we have to focus and invest on those. What I tell the legislators, you're going to be paying for it regardless. This isn't a question of whether you pay for wildfire and forest health and community resilience, or you pay for these other critical needs that need to be funding. You are already paying for it. We pay on average $153 million a year to fight fires, to just react, not be proactive, to just respond in the face of smoke and flames and save lives and save the landscape. With this last year, we are likely to well exceed that, to move it to a $200 million a year on average. I think 2015 was over $350 million that 1 year alone. I have one fire in 2018 that cost us $80 million just for one fire. So we are paying for it. The way we're paying for it is on a back of a credit card, where every year the legislature hopes and prays we're not going to have fires, and hopes and not going to have any costs, and that all of a sudden all this money will be saved. Well, the fact is, every single year we are already exceeding well over $100 million in costs, and they're paying for it. And that will continue, and it will only continue to get worse given our landscape, given hotter, drier conditions. So I am urging, if they put the money up front and they invest in it, I will have resources to be able to get on those fires quickly, put them out and contain them so they cause less damage, not only to lives, but also to in our communities. Also be able to put that money proactively in the health, which creates money. We treatments most often. For example, an 800-acre forest health treatment produced $1.5 million in revenue for work for us to continue that work. It also that local economy, cross-laminated timber and mass timber in the mills. So it has even additional 100% the economy. So it's not a question for this, something else. We will pay for it. We are paying for it. It's a question of whether we're going to pay to react and smoke and flames, or we're going to pay to be proactive and create jobs, protect the environment, and protect our communities. I will be focusing this coming on bringing forward a dedicated revenue bill. So every year we're not having to fight and beg and hope and pray that they will see it as important. Too often the way the legislature finally sees this issue as important is when it's in the sky and everybody thinks the world's coming to an end. The reality is, you know, when there aren't smoke-filled skies in the central Puget Sound area, we have horrific fires that are threatening our communities and our landscape. And so we're going to have to make the case that it is far cheaper. They'll be able to free up $150 that goes then to mental health and education, transportation, all the other needs, versus how they're spending it now. Like when it's leaking, you can either fix it or you can wait. And if you wait, it will collapse. And now you not only have to pay for the entire roof to be fixed, but you're going to have to pay for your entire home to get repaired.
Thank you. We've touched on cross-laminated timber several times. Besides buying CLT, are there other things green builders can do to support our forests?
I would love to work with you guys on this. I mean, I'm trying to take the example of what Malmo did in some key communities that are very forest dependent or very close to forests, where the valuing of that forest is being lost, but the love with sustainable building. I mean, I think of like the Issaquah is a perfect example, maybe, or in that East King County area of how do we create a neighborhood zone that we can then sort of replicate, prove its concept, prove its value for jobs, prove its value for the environment, prove its value for reducing the cost of housing affordability, replicate it across the state. So that's one idea I have that I think would be, I think it's in the green building place about helping raise the and what makes sense of where we build and why we need local governments to see the import that cost to them. I think, gosh, what else? Help me, Brain. Any more comments?
Well, I mean,
get the neighborhood zone done. I mean, come on, is that not an amazing idea of connecting what the product is and to why it's important and valuable for us to grow it, and to help it connect it truly with its use besides toilet paper? Sorry, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to all the smart growth plan work, especially like on Bainbridge Island, which speaks a lot to what you're sharing. And actually, the next, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to say it's 10:40, so maybe there's one or two more questions, and then if there's any closing thoughts that you may have. I know you had limited time. And then this question, which kind of ties into what we're talking about here, just getting your thoughts on the idea of a 15-minute city where people get anywhere from within the city in 15 minutes without the need of a car. And I know this is part of the 5-minute living and smart growth. So any thoughts, reactions to that?
So this is a big, I'm a big believer in this, and I think we were moving more effectively in that direction. I think COVID has a little bit alarmed. We're now transformation again of where we live, and well, maybe not as many people are going to be in their cars commuting. They're still going to be living farther away from that 5 minute to their grocery store or their needs. And I think we all need to get awake really, really fast about seeing whether that course is actually going to play out or whether it's going to revert and go back where we're leading, which is more dense, well-designed communities that brought people together, reduce their carbon footprint. I would say we've got to be working use planning. We've got to work more aggressively and get more communities being designed in that way. One of the things that I think about is in the fires, what always amazes me when a wildfire breaks out is how it comes together and how important it is to know how to come together in the unbelievable face of threat to life and to work together in ways that we haven't seen, frankly, for a long time. Design our communities to have sort of context of being close to your neighbor, of knowing your neighbor, design have footprint. And we have to get more. We're going to have to raise our voice as to the value of the cost of time to commute, but as to the value of knowing your neighbor and your neighbor for you, because COVID has created a very much a crisis of needing people, needing to know your neighbors, needing to take care of your neighbors, also in the context of other types of dangers and risks, whether earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, landslides of it. And I think we're going to need to really elevate as another high with reducing our carbon footprint and reducing forest conversion and also risk of wildfire. So hopefully that answered your question. I would love, I'm seeing Peter's, see, I'm going straight.
You want to finish up with
this? I do kind of like this because the one good part about it is instead of waiting for the audience to talk, I can read their mind. I'm reading Peter's mind right now.
Go for it.
Telling me he wants to talk about FSC. I would love to have your issue on FSC certified wood. This area that is of importance to me, but unfortunately I have been so consumed by wildfire, forest health, the many other challenges that COVID and other issues has presented. I haven't been able to have as much time to focus on this, and also the issue wasn't tough. We produce right now the most FSC state. We absolutely could do more. We do. The challenge we have is that the demand is not there to match the supply we have. And I've had an enormous amount of conversations of us having that demand for us to do more of that FSC, and not just us, but remember there's 8 million acres of private too that are critical in this state that could also be part of F. I remember when national and the U.S. and the was first at FSC International. I said, tell me what the #1 country is for FSC certified wood. And it was Belarus. And I was like, really? Belarus? And I wouldn't have thought that. The reason is that the biggest buyer of their wood is IKEA. And IKEA made a decision a while they use FSC wood in their products. The moment they made the announcement, they were going to lose one of their largest purchasers of their wood, truly economically, if they didn't do something immediately. And so in short order, they moved all of their forests, or a significant amount, to FSC certified. Similar frame happens, hopefully I get the state right, but when I asked the FSC USA what is the state with the greatest amount of FSC certified wood, it was Wisconsin. I sometimes get anybody in the audience who is from Wisconsin or Minnesota, I'm really sorry. I sometimes mix and match. So if I'm wrong, it's not Wisconsin and it's Minnesota. I apologize to all of you. This goes back 3 years. And I said, wait, why is that? And in that state, their largest buyer of wood product is McDonald's. And McDonald's made a commitment to go to FSC certified product. And what was amazing is the moment they made that decision, the mills in the state, the private sector mills, went to the legislature and said, you need to immediately require this to be FSC certified. Our woods are forced to be FSC certified so we do not lose these jobs and the economic opportunity. And like that, it was changed. Ideally, we wouldn't need that demand, but I will tell you, given the work I do, given the state, given how I framed our conversation between so much of the conversation's environment versus the economy at every level of government and here in Washington State, ideally, we would have that same kind of pressure of demand that would then enable not only the FSC certified forest that we have today to get a greater price, because right now we sell a lot of our FSC certified wood at the same price that we sell a regular SFI or uncertified. And so ideally it would increase the value of the wood we're already selling that's FSC, but it would also push for private and public lands to be more FSC certified. So I would love to work with you guys on that as well, on how we increase demand there.
Thank you. How are you doing? You got a couple more?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Nobody's come to get me the sheep hook.
This is
I had a sheep farm on Bainbridge, so I know what that feels like.
I will not. I will let you stay here as long as you have. Your thoughts on funding public is a good one, tough one. Your thoughts on funding public schools with clear cuts and why more money is not being given from these clear cuts to our schools.
Okay, I got the first question. I'm not sure I got the second question. Why more money? Well, let me tackle the first question. I'm actually looking. Can you say it again, Greg, so I can make sure I get it right?
Pater, and he asks your thoughts on funding public schools with clear cuts and why more money is not being given from those clear cuts to our schools.
Okay, I'll start with
Flo.
What?
maybe you can talk about how the money flows with the use of forest management.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer that the we can do is actually, oh, look at that. I'm a big believer the most sustainable thing we can do is be growing our building product, our wood products right here in Washington State, not getting them from some other state or frankly some other country that may have different standards. I'm a big believer that our state lands do have more protections because we have one of the CPs in the nation on our lands. They're have more environmental protections than our private lands do. Could we be doing better? Could we be doing more? Absolutely. I think the real issue here is one, not putting all of our eggs in the funding for our schools and our counties in forest land. Too often what's happened, and frankly, majority of the public that is actually engaged in the Department of Natural Resources had the idea that all of our revenue really just comes from timber. And so we need to keep cutting more trees and more trees because communities need more funding and schools need more funding. The fact is we have over 1 million other acres that are significant revenue opportunities that will reduce the amount of pressure on our forest lands of always having to deliver more and more revenue, even as we see the impacts of climate change. And a perfect example of that is our vineyards, where we had thousands of acres of agricultural land that was generating $0 before I came into this position that are now planted in grapes in Red Mountain, and now we're moving into Candy Mountain that are truly providing some of the finest wines in Washington State. Mark Ryan, Quintessence, Fidelitas. We are getting $1,100 an acre for those grapes. And not only does it increase the revenue where we were at 0 and now at $1,100 an acre for our schools, it is also now protecting those agricultural lands and keeping them in agriculture, not just state lands, but thousands of acres surrounding our land was private that was going to subdivisions and development of homes. And once those soils are lost, you can never get them back again. They are now being planted in grapes because that is the new economic opportunity. So it's helping prevent the conversion of working agricultural land. It's also providing a new economic opportunity for that local community that frankly did not have a diverse economic base and developed its only answer to it. And we all know what that means in the recession. We are also expanding in clean energy because when we move to clean energy, we're moving from about 0 to $1.43 an acre to $1,400 an acre. It's about a 98,000% increase in revenue. So not only is it generating more revenue for our schools and counties, but it's also creating a cleaner energy future. It's creating a more resilient future by providing energy right and that source. We are also focused on our commercial, industrial, and residential land. We have commercial, industrial, residential in some of the fastest growing communities. Right behind Pike Place Market in downtown Seattle, where that land had largely been ignored by previous commissioners. It wasn't seen as a value because we're the Department of Natural Resources. As we know, those are prime lands for generating a significant amount of revenue, like the parking lot behind Pike Place Market, which makes about $150,000 a year, a 30+ tall building that has residential and commercial that generates year-round return and quite consistently without the inflows or sort of ups and downs that timber and agriculture provide. And I can play that out in a number of communities, how that commercial, industrial, residential will provide greater benefit in the economy, provide more sustainability about housing close to where people work and reducing the commute and the footprint. And so we have been working to diversify our revenue base so it is not so timber heavy, and at the same time provides more reliability and certainty to our schools and our counties, and gets at this larger vision of how we reduce the pressure on our working force and working agricultural lands, meets our critical housing needs in the state. So that's first and foremost. I think ideally we would have, in my vision, of that public lands would have ownership of timberlands. We then can be certain to have wood product, because I can't force or control a private landowner to grow timberland. And as we've seen, our REITs and TIMOs and larger timber landowners, they're selling out a lot of those lands and they're turning into subdivisions or those ranchettes, right? Same with our small forest landowners. They represent 40% of the timberlands in Washington state. Many of them, and I was just in a meeting with them last night, they're 75 years and older. Their kids will inherit that. Whether they care about keeping that in forest land is still to be determined. It's given the and it's going to be doubtful given the pressures we're seeing over. So the more that can be agency to bring our forest lands, our working forest lands and our conservation lands under our purview will be greater for the economy and the environment and for our communities. And ideally, we need to go from a some less of forest to a some more, so that as we move to increasing the number of forest lands that we've lost to development, forest lands we've lost to agriculture, to help reduce our carbon footprint and more carbon sequestration, we will also then have less pressure about which forests are best for the year-in, year return of plantation style 40, 60, 80-year rotation, and those lands that are more high value for conservation, fish, and I'd like to get to that. I think we can get to it. Is it going to be a huge deal to get there? Yes. It mind of our leaders at the local and state level. It requires changing the mindset of our public and valuing these forests for their environmental benefit and valuing other forests for their. I hope that answered your.
That was awesome. I love the again, we get back to interconnectedness of things and the idea of looking at leveling out that income stream to support the opportunity to avoid taking from forests. And I'll segue right into I'll treat this as the last question and then let you sign off with a closing thought. But this is from Tom Balderston. Tom, you get the last question here.
Oh, Tom loves this. I know. We go way back. Bainbridge Island again.
I know. What types of forest management are best to optimize carbon sequestration in soils and trees as a climate stabilization strategy? So Tom says that some research suggests that just leaving the trees is the best strategy. So what types of forest management are the best to optimize carbon sequestration?
So this is where a conversation, and I think it would be amazing if you guys did a breakout at some point. And Derek Churchill, who is my forest health scientist, he comes from Conservation Northwest. I stole him. And he is the one developing the forest health treatments on all of our lands in the state, not just state, but federal, private, tribal, and state, of what are the specific treatments that need to happen. The treatments that need to happen are based on the geography. It's based on that landscape. It's based on that watershed. It's based on what are the conditions going back 300 to 500 years of what that landscape looked like. And what does it look like now? And what should it look like based on the past, but based on a changing climate in the future? Everything from what is the space between trees, how many trees within an area, what is the type of tree, a change in climate, especially in central and eastern Washington, what type of tree can actually grow and thrive, what type of soil are we seeing as it's hotter and drier, and we're also seeing more increased dust storms. So Tom, it's a huge question, and I am no way sort of moving it aside, but I will tell you that everything we have seen and what our forest science, Derek Churchill's work has shown, is that we have too many trees in many locations that are all competing for limited resources. And if we looked back 300 to 500 years, that is not what those forests looks like. And I mean, before humans were really moving in these forests and using them as much as they are. And as a result, they're competing for less resources, and there are less resources available because of a changing climate. And so we have to bring in the science of the past and the science that we're seeing as likely impacts of the future into what specific treatments need to happen to give these forests a chance on fire, because carbon sequestration does not happen when we are left with the complete destruction of, I don't mean just a few trees left standing, I mean complete destruction. We have over 2 million acres of land in Washington state that has burned in the last 10 years. And a number of those forests, as we've tried to replant and reforest them to bring the forest back, we're not having much success because the soils were so destroyed by those fires. And so this is going to take something that is not a black and white that says leave the trees, carbon sequestration, more opportunity, or cut a majority of the trees down, now they won't burn, but we've lost the bulk of the sequestration, but we have less carbon emissions. It's got to be informed by science. Derek Churchill is one of the best and the brightest actually in the nation on this issue, and we're lucky to have him. So I think it'd be a great opportunity for further conversation. Go to our website too for more information. You can also find his contact information there. He loves to geek out with anybody and everybody, and if I had more time, I'd geek out with him.
Thank you so much. I am so appreciative once again of your time and being with us today to share what's going on in our state and with your role in it, and am personally thankful for you being in the role that you are, looking out for us and all these really complicated and interconnected issues. Thank you again. Lovely to have you. We are going to stay on and kind of move into, from this point, into the tabletops. You can hang out. We have another presentation coming up at 11:30. If you are already signed up for that, please hang. And once again, thank you so much. I will say today's schedule, 11:30 is Clean Energy and Resilience, a scaling solution with Jack Newman. And then tonight we have the first 5 SLAM presentations at 6 p.m. So I look forward to that. And with that, I will sign off. And Commissioner Franz, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Let's work together. I'm excited. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I just want to make a quick correction to what Greg said. If you 11:30 session, that's not happening here. You do have to go back to Hay Summit and re-enter through there for the next session. It's in a room similar to this, but looks a little different. But everyone is welcome to hang out here until 11:30 if you like and continue to chat. So we're going to go back to the floor now. Thanks.